In this video, we are covering Chapter 11 of our Digital Marketing Strategy text, Tailoring Your Social Media Strategy. We've talked about a lot about social media throughout this semester and different kinds of social media platforms. So social media is any website or application that allows users to create and share content or to participate in social networking. 2/3 of all internet users use some type of social media. And as the textbook tells us, that the biggest social media base is currently in Asia, and our highest penetration rate for social media usage is in the Middle East. Social media is also very well suited to mobile use. As we increase the use of mobile devices and tablets, the amount of social media being used by our audience has increased. The book also talks about how 95% of Facebook traffic is currently done on mobile devices. The evolution of social media. How long does it take to reach 50 million users? So if you look at this graphic, it took about 75 years from the invention from the telephone until the telephone had 50 million people using it. However, we can see at the bottom that Angry Birds, when it was released, took about 35 days for that app to reach 50 million users. Now, that's a huge difference between 75 years and 35 days for how long it takes someone to get to 50 million users. We've talked about the great speed in which technology has changed our lives and the way we market to people. We can also see that with the use of social media tools, we can reach people, infinitely more people in a very short amount of time. So what's the digital usage around the world? So this is from We Are Social and Hootsuite that has produced, as of January 2021, so January last year, internet users we look at. So our total population is 7.83 billion of the world. Mobile users, 5.2 billion of those. Of those, internet users, 4.6 billion, and active social media users are 4.2 billion. And of course, we also have to think about that very first week of class in those first chapters where we talked about how there are thousands, over 5,000 social media tools available for mobile users to utilize, depending on what country they're in, what they're interested in. How much time do we spend on social media or using the internet? So these are internet users age 16 to 64 and their average time spent with various devices. So you can see that almost 7 hours total just using the internet across all devices. And we do things like listen to music, broadcast radio, listen to podcasts, play games, watch streaming services, read, and use social media. Our social media strategy should align with our overall business strategy. Because there are so many different ways to engage with audiences over various social media, we need to be strategic in which social media channels we choose and pay attention to, because we can't have an equal presence on all social media channels. It's just impossible to try to keep up with that. So you should really think about which channels your audience are on and who you're trying to reach and why. So the different things that we need to think about as part of our social media strategy is, what channels do we want to use? Do we want to use Facebook and Twitter? Would we rather focus on Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram? Do we want to use a combination of those? What tone of voice are we going to use? Remembering that we want to be aligned with our brand, the languages that we would use on those channels, how many people can interact with them, what time zones our participants are active. First, we do social media listening. So we would use a social listening tool like we talked about in chapter 3 and 4 of the digital analytics textbook to understand what people are saying, both about our brand and our competitors' brand. Our social personality should be consistent with our brand personality. We should have consistent messaging across all of our content and all of our channels. Each channel requires a different type of post. We don't want to just copy and paste our content across all channels. That won't help us be successful in each one of those channels. Different audiences on different channels are looking for different content. There are certain kinds of content or media that are more popular than other kinds of content and media, but it is important to understand what each channel uses as part of content generation. When we're looking to prepare our social media strategy, the different things we need to think about are what are our goals and how do those goals align with our brand strategy and our company strategy? Who is our audience? Who are we trying to target? Are we a company that targets to people of all ages, or do we tend to focus towards teenagers? Do we focus towards new moms? Are we focused towards married couples? What does our company look for and who is our audience? And then once we know who our audience is, where is that audience at? What social media channels are people typical to that audience using? When are they online? Do they tend to use their mobile devices during a morning work commute? Are they looking at it in the evening? Are they on at 1 a.m.? What are our competitors doing? So when we do social media audits and make decisions, we also need to look at our competitors and look at what they're doing to help us inform what we should be doing. And don't just copy what your competitors are doing, but you should understand how they are interacting with similar audiences. What is our content strategy? Are we going to focus on infographics, videos, photos, messages, tell real stories about our customers? What about curation and sharing other content to build links? So not just sharing our own unique content, but sharing other people's contents. How are we going to produce that content? Are we going to hire someone to make videos for us? Do we make our own videos? Do we buy pre-made stock photos? Do we hire a photographer? All of those things have to be considered as part of this. And then how are we going to manage our channels? We're going to manage each channel individually, or are we going to use a social media management tool such as Hootsuite, Sprout Social? And then we need to establish what the metrics of our success are. How are we going to measure whether or not we were successful? When we talk about types of social media, we have social networks. Of course, these are the ones that we think of the most when we think of social media. Facebook, Instagram, Snapchat, Twitter, TikTok. Okay? Blogs and microblogging, however, can also be used. Microblogging is Twitter, where we do short messaging. We have a specific number of content that we can use. We can use media sharing, such as YouTube, which allows for video sharing. Flickr, which is a photo sharing tool. Pinterest can also be used for photo sharing. Instagram for media sharing, video and photos. Professional networking, LinkedIn. LinkedIn is also being used more for advertising and social networking in addition to different kinds of professional networking. So LinkedIn is very much trying to break into more of the social networking channel. We can use reviews and rating sites like Yelp. We can use forums. Now, what kind of forums we use really depends on our target audience, because most forums tend to focus on a very specific niche target audience. And then sharing, such as Airbnb, Uber, Vrbo, different places where we can share information. So we talk a lot about the different kinds of social networks. So first, Facebook. We also have in my.Wartburg, there is a page called Social Media Information, where there's deeper dive information on each one of these social media channels. So Facebook has 2.1 million users. 60% of those users are 18 to 34. Facebook has really moved towards paid advertising. They show less and less organic content in their newsfeed, and they tend, because user feedback said that they would rather see stuff from their friends and families than they would from businesses. So they use their algorithm. They're more likely to show paid content than they are organic business content. So business to customer, which is B2C, knows that it's a way for businesses to reach out to customers. It's also a way for small businesses to establish an online presence without having to create and maintain a website. So there are many, many small companies that maintain a Facebook presence instead of a website, and then other companies do in addition to. Instagram. So Instagram has 1.2 billion active monthly users and 25 million active businesses. 100 million photos are uploaded every day on Instagram. Instagram is a very visual social media tool. You can create stories for live updates. You can share visuals, media, infographics. A third of the most viewed stories are from businesses. You can tie to your physical brand, share photos from events, share photos of products. One of the downfalls of Instagram is that you cannot post links inside your post right now. You have to direct people to search for you, or you have to send them to your main Instagram profile to click through links. YouTube. So 1.5 billion users, biggest video platforms in the world. You can create your own YouTube content through vlogging, reviews, instructional videos, or you can also do paid advertisements on YouTube where you include your commercials before various videos. YouTube is owned by Google, and so you get YouTube Analytics similar to your Google Analytics through your Google Analytics channel. Okay. Twitter is one of the smallest social media tools, but it is popular for real-time microblogging. It created the current hashtag usage. It has failed to monetize ads in the way that other platforms have. So it is a way to do pay-per-click and click-through ads, but it's not the most popular way. And when using Twitter, beware of fake profiles and people who are trolling. Another thing to remember about Twitter is that you have to be extremely active on Twitter. So you need to regularly post several times a day. You can create timed posts through Twitter through a social management tool such as Hootsuite or Sprout Social, where you can generate those posts automatically. But it does require constant management in a way that some of the other social media platforms don't need. Another social network is the Sina Weibo, which is a microblogging site specific to China. You can post more. They have a higher character limit per post than Twitter does. It's very successful, has 376 million users, offers sponsored posts and highly targeted advertising. So this would be a good tool to utilize if you're a worldwide brand that is looking to bring in users from other countries. LinkedIn, as we talked about, this is mostly a professional networking site, but they are hoping to get more social and increase the amount of activity and engagement. You can post sponsored content, you can do paid ads, you can target people to stay up to date. And Snapchat. Snapchat is heavily youth oriented. They invented stories, but many other platforms also picked up stories. You can do stories on Instagram and Facebook. They have struggled for growth, mostly because they draw in a much different target audience than some of the other platforms do. But if you're focused on a youth market, then Snapchat is one of the places that you should be on. TikTok wasn't quite the social media channel when these books were developed, but I imagine in future editions of these books, we're going to see much more mention about how to advertise on TikTok and gain audiences on TikTok. Other types of channels we can look at, Pinterest, Tumblr, Flickr, as we discussed before, is a photo sharing thing. We have Meetup, Ask Me, Ask Questions. Reddit is a popular channel for advertising and creating brand awareness. So this graphic here has the top social and video streaming apps by the amount of time spent. So you can see that the average time per user for Facebook is 19.5 hours per month. Then followed by WhatsApp and Instagram. And the highest video streaming app is YouTube, then followed by MX Player and Netflix. What kind of content do we want to create? Video and photos are the two most popular kinds of content. So consider different kinds of video. So one thing is that our vertical video is becoming more and more popular because our cell phones are usually a vertical device unless we turn them on their side. So vertical video is one thing that is looking to be optimized on mobile platforms. We can create great visuals, and we can create stories. So real-time content strategy. And we can use social publishing platforms such as Hootsuite, Sprout Social, TweetDeck, and I think Spreadfast is another one of the ones the book talks about. This allows us to schedule posts and monitor the performance of multiple social media tools all at the same time. We can use influencers on social media channels. So influencers are people who influence others by having large social media followings. Some influencers are celebrities who are using social media both to market themselves and their own brand, and then will share about other companies' brands. And some influencers are people who just do that for a living. They like to talk about different brands and different things. You can partner with influencers, so you can pay influencers to market your material. So market through influencers, reaching their target base, have them talk about your brand. You can market to influencers to raise awareness directly with them, rather than their followers, and you can market with influencers or turn them into advocates. So some companies will pay influencers to share their content. Others will give them free things in exchange for reviews or recommendations. There are multiple ways to engage with influencers. This graphic talks about the different kinds of influencer types and their kind of reach. Well, of course, celebrities have the highest reach on all social media channels. Then we have professional bloggers, people who just do this for a living. They tend to have a very target or niche content. I do vlogs on cooking, or I do a blog or a vlog on makeup, or just food, finding good restaurants, on travel. Okay? And then we just have micro influencers, advocates, and thought leaders. So as our reach goes down, we're also able to increase that target, how well we can target to each other. So if we choose a smaller influencer that has a very niche market, we're able to target specifically to a very particular market instead of just target generally like we would if we were using a celebrity. Okay. How can we use social advertising? Well, Facebook ads just show up on our news feeds. We can then create lookalike groups. So we talked about lookalike groups are groups that are very similar to our target audience, but aren't our customers yet. So we take the details of who are our current customers and we target people with similar likes. We can use direct response ads, we can raise awareness, we can create content that users will share for us. Organic reach becomes more and more and more difficult as our attention spans change and as more people enter into markets. This is why it's important to also have paid strategies within social media. We also need to think about how we protect our customers' data if we're collecting information across social media. And we need to think about how social media drives our SEO, our search engine optimization. So web traffic is driven by social media use. The more we have engagement across multiple channels, the better we look in Google's algorithm for search engine optimization. So it does help drive where we show up in those organic searches. The various types of things we can measure, we've talked about this in multiple chapters now. So engagement and reach are the two most. Reach is just the number of people who see our content, where engagement are the people who share, like, comment on, post information about us, refer us to their friends, watch a video all the way through instead of just opening it for 3 seconds. Once we've created our social media strategy, we've created our content, we have our measurement tools, we want to create a dashboard to pull all of that information together. So our metrics, we don't want to look just at metrics from Facebook or just at metrics from our website or just at metrics from Twitter or Instagram. We want to pull all of those metrics together to tell us a larger story. So our social media monitoring tools that we can use, such as Google Analytics, social media management tools, larger tools like Salesforce and Oracle can help us pull all of that data back into one place. And that is the end of chapter 11 from our digital marketing strategy book. I apologize that this video is so long. I should have cut it into 2 shorter videos. And I apologize that it was so long.